Greetings, Race Community. Brent coming in live with an extra special episode today with Lynn Wester, principal and founder of Donor Relations Guru Group, extra G there, and my newest colleague, Stephen Kapor, who has served as president of Fundriver since 2006. And we recently had the opportunity to join forces as Evertrue has acquired Fundriver, and we thought it would make sense to both get to know each other a little bit better in this setting, but also share with the race community why we are advancing in this direction. So welcome, Lynn and Stephen.
So happy to be here.
Likewise.
So our audience knows Lynn, and if you don't, now you do, but you already did. But Stephen, maybe not so much. And so we're going to start with Stephen. A little bit of your personal journey, Stephen, and why don't you just take us through, really quickly, your own higher education journey, career path, and then what was the spark that led you to branch out, hang your own shingle, and launch Fundriver?
So in 2006, I had just exited an investment advisory firm that specialized in nonprofits. So I was already familiar with the space, and we knew that the unitization and sub-accounting was an underserved area. There really wasn't anything out there. And so we launched in 2006. It was in the first floor apartment of a house I had, of a 2-flat. And so it's me and a couple other folks in a small room, and then one other person in Indianapolis working together. We're based in Cincinnati, and the neighborhood we were in is in Mount Adams, which it's real hilly there. It's, if you squint your eyes a little bit, it looks a little bit like San Francisco. And one of the things that we really love about working in this space and working with nonprofits is you're helping people who are helping others. And so there's so much like intrinsic satisfaction with that, and just mutual appreciation, working with clients there.
So let's go down memory lane a little bit from your vantage point, Lynn, because I believe in 2006, you're down at Rollins College, and you've got a side hustle. I think you're working, not a side hustle, a full hustle in the advancement office, doing acknowledgements and working in donor relations, and probably having a window into some of the before versus the after use cases that Stephen was describing. So just what was your perspective in 2006, 2008 on just this whole world of after the money is raised and the donor says, Lynn, here's $100,000 and I'd like 5% of it per year to help a first-gen student from Iowa get access to Rollins College. What happened? What was your window into this world at that time?
At that point, I was in New York City. But yeah, Rollins gave me my basis. Rollins is a small liberal arts college. And
I just want everybody to know, I do my research, and according to LinkedIn, Lynn was in Rollins College from 2004 to 2008.
I got to work on the LinkedIn data. Need to clean up my database. Anyway,
wherever you were,
wherever I was doing endowment reports, and they were the most painful thing in the world. I had to wait for my finance office to give me the holy grail of all spreadsheets. And then it had to wait for the auditors, and it was a spreadsheet, and it had, like, how when you go into Excel into the double letter rows and columns, and you have to scroll and you need 3 screens to manage this spreadsheet. I had this spreadsheet of financial information that I needed to get to donors. Separate from that, I had financial aid. I was on Banner. So I'm an old school Banner head. And our financial aid department was connected in through these little things called fund codes. And you connected the student to the fund, and then you got another spreadsheet. And then I had another spreadsheet that came out of Banner with all the donors and their sexy things called FOPs, which was their fund numbers, the fund org identity, all that good stuff. And I would have to take all 3 spreadsheets and find the one thing in common that they had, which was the fund ID, and then pivot them all together, which took 2 or 3 weeks and a couple of heart attacks and a lot of beer and, you know, some barbecue. And then I would regurgitate that all back out to the finance department and say, is this right? And sometimes they'd be like, well, you missorted the spreadsheet. And it was all very painful and very manual. And then I learned about Fundriver at a conference, and I was like, so we don't have to do this on spreadsheets? And they're like, no, there's actually software for that. And I was like, oh. And so I have been a fan of Fundriver because schools that have Fundriver that I've been working with have the financial part of their reporting much more in line. It's much easier, and I can get my reports, my financial reports, to donors sooner. What has been missing in our field, though, is the ability to generate those reports outside of a literal Microsoft mail merge, like the little paperclip jumping up and down, helping you mail merge things. That's how we used to get it done. And so almost 2 years ago, we were in the middle of all the Otter, launch and everything. Steven's team reached out to me and said, we hear you're good at software design, and which made me giggle and laugh because I had no clue what I was doing, but I pretended like I did. And they said, we want to launch this amazing software that goes with Fundriver that automates people's reporting. And I was like, well, I have very strong opinions about that. And they were like, great, can you help us? And we started working together to create impact. And that the entire time we're working together, I'm getting to know his teammates, and I'm going, these are our people. These are our people. They're just finance people on the other side of advancement. These are people I've been working with for 20 years. And gosh, they're really cool. And gosh, they really care about my industry. And I was thinking, how do I get these people's reports to feed out through Otter? And the entire time I'm, I like to play chess, not checkers. So I'm trying to build 5 steps ahead. I'm also building relationships with Steven. As a CEO, he reached out to me and he said, by the way, thank you for helping us. And I was like, who's this kind human? Like, what is going on here? Like, CEOs, like, I'm used to, Brent and JD, but Steven's one of us. And he reached out and he just wanted to thank me and talk about how the process had gone and talk about where we could go from here. And I was like, well, this is enlightened behavior. So I started noodling on, what if all of these things lived in one environment rather than Otter being separate and Evertrue being separate and Fundriver being separate. And I had already paired JD and Brent together, and they were already cooking their barbecue in the sauce. And I was like, but there's this guy, Steven, and he has the numbers, and we need the numbers. And so I just started matchmaking again and really thinking about, imagine if I and donor relations had this from when I started. One screen where I could look at donors, financial information, and fund and recipient information. That does not exist anywhere else in our industry. It doesn't exist.
And that's where, look, we don't want this to be a sales pitch on what we're building together, but we do want people to have a window into the why behind it. And I hope you can hear the authenticity with which, Lynn approaches this work. And we are trying to be really disciplined as we execute this mergers and acquisition strategy that is going to create the opportunity to do things that haven't been done before, to solve problems that haven't been solved before, in pursuit of the collective mission of this group, which is deeply rooted in philanthropic giving. And very simply, we didn't know a lot about the fund accounting world at Evertrue. We didn't appreciate the intersection of that data set and what it could mean to a donor, what it could mean to a frontline fundraiser. But even as we started, introducing this topic internally to our leadership team, and then as we rolled out the announcement this week to our team more broadly, we have a lot of former fundraisers who said, Brent, this is so exciting because it was so hard for me when I was a fundraiser at Purdue or at Minnesota or at wherever, when a donor said to me, how's my fund doing? Have you spent it and what did you spend it on? It would take 2 weeks for me to be able to answer that question, which when you're talking about major donor stewardship and donor experience, that is unacceptable. And so very simply, Fundriver has two products, Balance and Impact. Balance keeps track of that fund performance, and it helps establish and track the rules around how distributions should be managed.
Right. It also helps support the audit process. The information flows into the financial statements. It's really that what's important that comes through with Balance is that the user base in the business office wants to make sure that the numbers are correct. And it's different than on the donor relations side, where the numbers need to look good. And what's unique about the two working together is we can really bridge that gap, because oftentimes there's friction between the two departments. And this system working together kind of creates a more harmonious relationship between the two departments.
And we should acknowledge, Stephen, that for, let's call it 14 of your 16 years of entrepreneurial journey at Fundriver, you didn't spend a lot of time thinking about advancement. It was sort of tangential and it was there. And I know that by way of the collaboration with Lynn, that was really the catalyst to launch Impact, which has such a beautiful intersection with ThankView and is going to be a natural fit with EverTrue. Just share a little bit about the why behind Impact and the, why the early kind of receptivity from our friends at Ohio University, for example, has been so positive.
Yeah, one of the things we noticed, even going back a little bit further than a couple of years ago, is clients were asking us to help them build these really kind of complicated donor reports, and it didn't fit perfectly well with the system, but it was one of those things where there was a really huge unmet need. This area was being underserved, and so they were looking for us for help. And so when we took a step back and looked at it overall, we said, hey, we could do these donor reports times 1,000,000 if we really were able to pull it out into its own thing and direct it, instead of the Balance, which is really directed around the needs of the business office, create something that's really built around the needs of the advancement side and taking advantage of the trust we have, or leveraging the trust that we have with the business office. And so that's how Impact was born. There was a job to be done and a huge unmet need. And as we dug in with clients, and Lynn, you'll probably be able to confirm this, people spend months, every year, spend 3 or 4 months a year building these reports, and a lot of heartache and sweating, and just to make sure it's right. And this solves a huge pain point there. Not to mention, the times when you need it sort of on a as needed basis, ad hoc basis, when you want to meet with a donor and it's a fire drill. And so, the fact that it's hopefully, if it's less of a fire drill, it gives you more time to engage with the donors. And the fact that you're not spending 3 or 4 months building these reports lets you do the things to help fulfill the mission.
Yeah.
Literally breaking down.
Yeah. Breaking down silos. And, Brent, you mentioned that fundraisers say it takes 2 weeks to get that information back. It's not because people don't want it to get it faster, or it's not because the departments don't work well together. It's because finance is making sure it's accurate. Donor relations is making sure we have the permission to release that financial data, because, if it's not audited, there's some sense of, well, we have to be really careful what numbers we released, right? And so donor relations is in the middle, usually, because we don't want all the fundraisers going to finance, because they aren't always fluent in fund management and distribution. And so we serve as translators for that. But it's also ad hoc. And it can be disruptive, because we do have, they have audit season, we have endowment reporting season. And when I say season, think college football. It is from August until Thanksgiving. You are sweating, and you don't have Thanksgiving. You just eat carbs and pray a lot when your reports go out, and you're hoping that they're what the donor wants. And it is solving a huge pain point. But even further than that, Brent, what Stephen and I and the team were realizing is, as COVID expanded, we in donor relations and in finance lost a lot of our talent the doers around creating those reports, whether it was the financial person that managed those funds or the person in donor relations that created the reports. And so we are now, they can outsource their reports to us and we can do it for them because they've lost the staff members and the institutional knowledge that used to do those sophisticated merges and those reports. And when you lose somebody that does your endowment reports, you have to do them by law. It's not like you can just be like, well, we'll wait a couple years and do it later. Your donors are waiting on it. And so we also served and are filling this gap for clients when they say, my endowment report person who's been there 19 years retired, what do I do? I don't even know where to start. We are also able to fill this gap for them during this talent crunch. So they can kind of rely on us and say, Stephen's folks are the financial brains and the donor relations guru group and the Evertrue and Otter team have been the reporting brain. Now we're all coming together. So if you need to, you can outsource it to us rather than trying to scramble and figure out how to do it yourselves. And that has been a huge relief for many, many people.
So let's talk about the before and after from where you sit, Lynn, as you now see the Fundriver to Impact, Impact to Otter flow relative to the status quo. What is the before and after, maybe for one client in particular that you're most excited about right now? What's a real life example? Yeah.
Sure. So
But
I'm
you don't
going to
have to
look at
name names necessarily, but I
Okay.
mean, just kind of that illustrative before and after. Yeah.
Yeah. So before, this client is a large decentralized public university. And right now, or previous to Otter, all their endowment reporting was done by spreadsheet and then mailed to their donors through the postal mail. And it was a 6 to 8 month process. They were one of our first Otter adoptees, and they're unique in that they have a big decentralized structure. So the School of Dentistry does their reports, law does their reports, and they have one central office that brings them together. So by going up onto Otter, they saved about 3 months in their process. Now they're going to be they already have balance, and they're going to be going up on impact. And so the reports will be automated. There won't have to be any more of the mail merges. They'll go through the report batching and creation process, which will knock another 80 to 100 hours off of staff time. We'll also make sure that it's not left to mail merging. It's done accurately in the system with real-time data. And that for them will feed straight from impact into an Otter upload. They won't have to save as PDF, like the system does the PDF creation for them. Same thing, all the templates are built for them. All they have to do is populate with their beautiful colors, their school colors, and put in the content rather than I have to go to communications. I have to get a template. I have to get somebody to use this in InDesign. I have to do the mail merging. And so they're already sending digitally with Otter. So this will shortcut the design process, the merging process, and for them, because they're so decentralized, will help increase their accuracy and make sure that there's no spreadsheet issues, right? And then finally, they get to deliver it in a beautiful custom with a video from each dean of each college, school, and unit. So if I'm a dentistry, I get my dentistry dean. But if I have a fund, if I have multiple funds in multiple areas, I hear from the president of the university, and all my funds are reported on in one email. So that's kind of the
And
before, during,
then
and
we get analytics and metrics about if the donors actually reviewed the reports.
read it, whether they've watched that dean's video or whether or not he or she is a little snoozy. That we also find out which part of the information are they reading. Is it the fund financials? Is it the impact? Is it the endowment overview? And then eventually this school wants to, for scholarships and scholarship recipients, have their scholarship recipient speak directly to the donor and show them the impact. So
Yeah.
it's phases, right? They're phasing this in.
And in a future state, as we integrate Evertrue with the Fundriver Otter ThankView flow, imagine being a gift officer getting a push notification in the Evertrue app that says, hey, Lynn, your donor just reviewed her impact report, her endowment report. You will be getting those alerts on your phone so that you'll know, or in your inbox. And it's just, if we can get an alert when a new house hits the market that meets our criteria, we should be able to get an alert when somebody in my portfolio reviews their endowment report. And we're not there. But to me, when we talk about CRM and the future of CRM in the space, like that is the future of CRM. And it's an example of something that on our own we couldn't do. And that's why, Stephen, taking this sort of leap of faith and building, trust and going down this path, it presents real opportunity for the sector. And Stephen, I think on that note, before we even announced the Thankview and Evertrue merger, Lynn basically said, you've got to find a way to hook up with these Fundriver folks and add them to the family here. And so, that being said, Stephen, I had never met you before. We got connected, I think last November, kind of December timeframe, and then had the opportunity to get together in person. You've worked, bootstrapped this company for over 15 years. I know that you've built a strong culture of folks that are deeply committed to the work and the space. And I know it's not easy to make a decision like this, sell a business in pursuit of doing something even bigger. And so I'd actually love just to get your kind of reflections on the last 10 months or so, and ranging from first impressions to the kind of ups and downs along the way. Yeah.
Well, we weren't planning to sell, as you know, that we had those conversations. We weren't planning to sell, but what we came to realize was, this was such a unique opportunity to do something, to be able to do more for the people that work at our organizations, and importantly, also for our clients. And we couldn't, when we were thinking about it, there was not another organization out there that fit so well with us. We couldn't let this opportunity pass us up. So, it was a really hard decision, but, just thinking about all the folks that I've been working with, it's a heck of a lot easier when people have your back. And in the end, we're really happy with the outcome here, and we're excited about what we can do together.
And we owe it all to you, Lynn. So
yeah, thanks, Lynn.
What was your reaction when you heard that we were actually going to make this happen?
Well, okay. So a long time ago in a faraway land, I was like, so I think it's hard because y'all know I'm a very opinionated person.
Really?
Shocker, right?
You?
Yes.
You?
And when I met Brent and JD, I was like, when you find people that are your people, there are lots of people that serve our industry, but there are not a lot of people who give to our industry. There are a lot of people that take. There are a lot of vendors that take from our industry. There are a lot of businesses that say, what can I get out of this? And ever since I met Brent and ever since I met JD, their origin stories both are, how can I help this industry? And when I met Stephen and learned their origin story, it's, how can I help this? I want to help people who help people. And I run a successful business at the same time, which is my big belief as well. And so when you meet those people, honestly, there are not lots of them. So I'm going to, like I think of Jay Love at Bloomerang. I think of, others that are my rare unicorns in the space. And so when you find them, I just want to hang out and have everybody be a happy family together. And so for 20 years, we've had this pain in my industry about endowment reporting. Like if you go to a conference of donor relations professionals, they're like, I just got done with my endowment reports. And everybody's like, do you need a hug? Do you need a drink? Do you need a snack? Like there's like therapy groups for this. And so for me, I honestly have been humbled because I have these crazy ideas sometimes, like Otter, and now like bringing Fundriver to you all. And the fact that Brent and JD listened, and that Stephen, you put trust in me to vet or to vouch for these guys kind of means the world to me, because I do have lots of opinions and I am a little out there, but I've got a darn fine read on people. And I think that it's the people in the company that matter the most and what their core beliefs are. And if we share core values, and for me, the biggest core value is you're a bigger giver than you are a taker to the industry, then the success will come, the industry. But we have to be there for our clients first. And that's what that's what the whole bringing it together means. And it also means that at conferences I don't have to hear, because I'm going to say, well, there's a solution to your problem, you just need to adopt it and we're going to help you with it. So it's humbling.
Thank you, Lynn. We really appreciate your advocacy and the matchmaking and the thoughtfulness behind it. And I hope folks know, like, we are working with an incredible private equity fund, Rubicon Technology Partners. They're based in Boulder, Colorado. Their LPs, their limited partners, their investors are nonprofits, are university endowments, and are hospitals. And we are really fortunate to be aligned with a firm that absolutely wants to build an enduring, successful business, but genuinely cares about us executing on a strategy that will solve problems that haven't been solved before. And so we're trying to balance that big mission with big vision for building an enduring company. And we're going to continue to walk that line as best as we can. And we're going to do so in a manner that really continues to lean into remote work when possible. And I wanted to just touch on that for a little bit because it's a hot topic in the world in general and higher education specifically. And Stephen and the Fundriver team were doing it way before it was cool. So tell me about your remote work journey, Stephen, and any lessons you've learned along the way that might help me as I continue to lead the company and have growing, but still far less experience in the remote context. And Lynn, as she builds DRGG remotely as well.
Well, I think, for us, working remotely, it's been part of our DNA since 2009. And actually, even from the founding, we weren't all in one place. And I think one of the things that it's enabled us to do is to get talent that we wouldn't otherwise have access to. And one of the things that was really important to us is to hire people in the industry. We want to be able to meet our clients where they are. So when they call for help and are looking for support, they're talking to somebody that's been in their chair. And that meant a lot to us. And I think that's really key part of our success, because we got 60% of our client base or more of our new clients were referrals from existing clients. And the other thing that it allowed us to do is created a sense of work-life balance that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. And we spent years kind of cultivating that and integrating that into our culture. And we see the same thing here at Evertrue, which really is sort of eased the transition for us greatly.
So tell me about that remote talent, Stephen. Tell me about my new teammates from Fundriver. What should I know?
Boy, okay. First of all, we're all over the country, from Oregon to Vermont, Florida to Michigan, pretty much all four corners of the country. Many of them have come from higher ed or hospitals, nonprofit space in general, private independent schools, really dedicated to making sure that clients' needs are addressed. These numbers are really important. They go into financial statements. They flow into the audit process. They have to be correct. And these are the folks that are working at Fundriver understand that if you're off by $1 in a reconciliation, it's important to track that down. They understand that's important. So those just, sense of the dedication to the client and not leave a client hanging. especially when they're under time constraints to, close this out, because so many people depend on these results.
Stephen, tell me about your side hustle as a musician.
Well,
We might have
if
some listeners in the Cincinnati area, so this is
yeah. Well, most every Tuesday we play at a bar called the Blind Lemon. Really cool little space that's been around for ages. And, if I had to make a living as a musician, it would be really hard. There's a joke. What's the difference between a large pizza and a musician? A large pizza can feed a family of 4. So I'm grateful for my main hustle here, but it's great release, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I'm playing guitar, sing, percussion, kind of a utility player, a little bit of everything.
I cannot wait to get out there for a Blind Lemon show at some point for sure. Lynn, maybe we get you out there too. Maybe we have a little celebration at the Blind Lemon one Tuesday.
Come on down. We'd love to have you.
In the spirit of work-life balance, I know Stephen's got to go pick up. If anybody's seen the video of this, he's got a veritable art gallery behind him, and so I know he's got to go do a school pickup here soon. So we can wrap up shortly. But Lynn, I might give you an opportunity for some closing thoughts. I'll put you on the spot here a little bit, which I know doesn't faze you. In 2024, when we're at a conference together, what do you hope you're able to say about what we've accomplished together as Fundriver, Thank Few, Ever True, with a couple of years of time and an opportunity to really advance the integration work of these platforms?
I think for me, the big one is reallocating your time as a staff member, as a team member at a nonprofit, to do what's most important for donors, not doing, spreadsheet work and manual, manual cognitive labor, that the systems can take care of that. And that more donors will receive impact reporting and better impact reporting, because we've taken away the pain points and the stress of the necessary evil. It's not an evil, but the daily grind. That I want endowment reporting season to be 2 weeks, not a whole 13 games plus a playoff. And I want people to understand that while this is extra important, we are going to be by your side every step of the way. We're hiring out of industry as well, just like Stephen is for the Otter side. And so we want your stress level to go from here around this process to here, and that your trust level in the company go here, because we got your back and we're not going anywhere, and we're just as dedicated to your success with your donors as you are, and we're going to walk alongside you. So for me, it's lowering the pain point and amount of hours spent on minutia, so that you can increase what you really love in donor relations, which is telling the donors what their money did and giving them those stories that move us to emotion. That's my hope.
I love it, Lynn. It sounds like in 2024, fewer spreadsheets, less of a need for donor relations therapy, and hopefully a radically elevated donor experience that further enhances the authenticity of that stewardship experience. The connectivity between the donor, the impact, the student beneficiaries should be much more just streamlined and authentic. And I think it all very much aligns with our mission and vision at EverTrue. Our mission is to build relationships, inspire generosity, and improve lives. Our vision is to innovate and integrate leading technologies to empower fundraising professionals through intelligence, outreach, and software. And Fundriver coming together with the EverTrue portfolio is a complete no-brainer and absolutely aligned with that mission and vision. And I just want to say thank you to both of you for your trust in me and JD and our teams, and a willingness to dream bigger. So Stephen, any closing thoughts? And then I'll let Lynn bring it home.
No, I really love that, Lynn, your final comment, especially the idea of the emotional impact, being able to spend less time on the back office work and more time creating connections and creating the emotional impact, which is why they have a job in the first place, why they probably came to that job in the first place. I think that's a great way to change people's lives.
Yeah. And I think to cap it off, I want to I think donor relations is the single best profession in the world, maybe other than running a tech company or something fun like that. But don't run a company. It's a lot of work. But I just so believe in the profession that I want everybody to have as great a job as donor relations can provide. And I want to take away the not so fun stuff and let you really embrace why you're attracted to this job, which is you get to interact and be grateful for and give impact to people whose generosity actually changes lives and the world. And as a daughter of someone who received generosity a long time ago in a faraway land that changed my dad's whole trajectory of his life, that is what I need. And so I want these positions to be attractive for people to take, not have them go, I can't do this another year. I want them to go, I have the tools to make sure my donors know how important their gifts are and that their generosity is just, that knows no limits.
Well said.
I love it. Great closing thoughts, Lynn. And yeah, just to my new colleagues from Fundriver, I really look forward to spending time with you in the coming weeks and months. And to our ever true teammates, I hope that you'll continue to welcome everybody warmly as we continue to work towards this bigger vision together. And so with that, we're going to wrap today's episode with my newest colleague, Stephen Kapor, President and CEO at Fundriver, and matchmaker extraordinaire, Lynn Wester of the Donor Relations Guru Group. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thanks guys.